I'm Rabbi Jay Karzen,
And I'm Rebbitzen Ruby Ray Karzen.
and Tape with Rabbi Doug is next.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. We are here today, taping in Park Ridge, Illinois actually, and I am here with two people who are back from Israel, my two most popular guests, who I get the most comments and requests and questions about. They are Rabbi Jay Karzen and Rebbitzen Ruby Ray Karzen. And today you'll see that Rebbitzen Ruby Ray Karzen is right next to me because I'm very excited to talk about her new book. But first I'm going to ask Rabbi Karzen to do a little introduction.
Let me say, I always introduce her as the rabbi's wife. Today I'm the Rebbitzen's husband because we're on a 5-state tour around the United States to promote her new book, which she'll tell you about. I just wanted to just a little introduction. We're married 58 years. Yeah, and when we got married, we made a deal, made a pact, that we become a rabbinic couple, we become a team, and TEAM, together each accomplishes more, one of my favorite statements. And we decided at that time that to make an impact and to be truly a inspiration to others, we would have to make a difference in this world. And our mission has been for these years to make a difference. And I always say that God didn't make a perfect world. He made it imperfect to put us in it, to try to make it more perfect. And our job is to try to make Judaism more beautiful, more loving, more joyous. Joyous Jewishness is a concept that we developed over the years. And our role is to make life more beautiful, the joy of being a Jew. And this book, in a sense, as she'll tell you, is in a sense, a culmination of all these years together, a philosophy of life. And it's finally come to print, so people will see exactly what we try to do during these almost 60 years as a team, as a rabbinic couple.
Very nice. So I want to first of all introduce the book. The book is called Cherry on the Top, Loving Instructions on Living a Life That Makes a Difference, The Ethical Will and Memoirs of Ruby Ray Karzen. And you have here at the bottom 3 different countries mentioned. You have Poland, America, and Israel. And so I want to ask you to start, Rebbitzen. Can you tell me, first of all, what made you want to write a book? Secondly, why did you call it Cherry on the Top? And thirdly, of course, what does Poland, America, and Israel have to do with your book?
Thank you, Rabbi. It's very nice being here with you again.
As always.
How many times?
A lot of times.
It's always a pleasure. Many years ago, at half my current age, I took a course in ethical wills. And I thought it was a very good idea, but you don't write an ethical will when you're 35. So I had to wait for a while. And I decided a couple of years ago that it was time to sit down and write an ethical will for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. You know, I knew we weren't going to leave them millions of dollars, but we can leave them thoughts and ideas on how to live their life. Now the problem is, what is a good life? I mean, the thing is, you know, there's all types of answers. What's a good life? Well, in the presentation that I've been giving all over America, and it'll be really all over the world because we do cruises, and I speak all over the world, and what it is, I give an inspirational speech, and an inspirational speech that you really don't hear very often today. You know, people don't talk about fire and brimstone. I don't have so much fire and brimstone, but I really try and put forth ideas how to live a good life, how to live a life that makes a difference. And so the book is based on that. It starts out, you asked why it has Poland there. What I did was set it against the story of my family, of the Rays. Now, my family is your story, and it's his story, because anybody who came, particularly from Eastern Europe, from Poland, from Russia, from Lithuania, anywhere there, it was all the same story, how people struggled and they lived there, and then they eventually decided to come to America or Canada or it was
Israel.
no, America
Not
or
yet.
Canada, no, not yet. And what happened? What was it like to live an immigrant to come to America and they all made wonderful lives for themselves. All of our grandparents and parents, they really built a life because they came with nothing.
And certainly, we know from people who tell their family stories, most people came to America with very little or no family here. They came here not speaking the language. They came here, if they did make a little money when they came here, they were able to bring their family eventually to join them. Many came by themselves at the beginning. Just the whole struggle in the progression of that struggle, which led to some people actually becoming wealthy, some people just becoming affluent as far as what kind of jobs they had.
And educated.
Or I was just, that was the next one.
That's-
And the next thing
that was
was
the most
getting
important.
a good education or being able to provide one for their children were really everybody's goals. Everybody's goals.
Exactly.
And some people, listen, they never made it. They still struggled check to check, week to week, but they were happy. They learned to be happy. Sameach b'chalko, with whatever they were given.
Had. In fact, I have that in the book. I myself am samecha b'chalko. I really b'chalki. I really am. After living a life, I mean, I'm a little. I've been through a few moons, and I think that if you think about it and you really have faith in God, and you really try to be a good person, then you will succeed. But it's a lot of work. It's a lifetime work. But the cherry on it. Oh, I want to tell you. You mentioned people coming. It was very interesting. My husband's first position was in a place called Ottumwa, Iowa. Ottumwa. Nobody ever heard of it.
Our children were born
But
there.
there is such a place. And by the way, you remember Radar from MASH? He was Ottumwa's favorite son.
He was,
That's
that's
the
right.
only thing that Ottumwa was known for. Anyway, so how did people get to a place like Ottumwa? I mean, they came from Europe. How did they get there?
Don't you know there's still Jewish families in Ottumwa? Someone from my synagogue, their son-in-law's from Ottumwa.
Their son-in-law's from Ottumwa.
Right. His
That's
parents
the
are
thing.
still there. Parents are still there. A few Jewish
Really?
families
Okay,
still there.
fine. We
Would
had a
you
beautiful
believe it?
community.
Yeah.
But how did people get there? People came, not everybody wanted to stay in New York. It was too crowded. And so they went to the railway station. They said, I have $12.53. How far can I go? Whoops, here's Ottumwa, Iowa. So they came, one person, as you said, and then they brought their families and so on and so forth. And when we were there were about 100 families, and we were like 300-400. We had a Hebrew school and everything, but that's the story of all of us. And then after that, we moved to Israel. So a third of the book, is like say maybe less than that, is about Europe,
history.
Family history, and interesting. I put all the names that I could find, all the names, and you know what? I have found cousins. Somebody came up to me the other night. She said, we're cousins, and we figured, and she didn't even know that there were any other from our side in the whole at all. And here we found cousins. But anyway, then we came to Israel, and of course, a third of the book is Israel, with how marvelous it is, and what a wonderful quality life you can live there. But that's the structure of the book. As far as cherry on the top, it's a philosophy that I've thought about over the years. I try to live that way. I've tried to give it over to my children and to the congregations that we've had. What it is that picture an ice cream sundae, a glass, like an ice cream sundae, a traditional one. And in there, what's the recipe? How do you do it? How do you make a sundae? You go ahead and you put balls of ice cream in the bottom, then you put whipped cream, and each ball, imagine that each ball is a value, is a truth, is an ethic, if you will. And if you internalize those in your soul, then when they put the cherry on the top of a sundae, you become that cherry. You are that cherry. A mensch. You become a mensch, and the mensch is that cherry, and that's why it's called cherry on the top, because the whole book is geared toward becoming having people understand what it is to be a mensch, what it is to be charitable, to be good, to be kind, to be all types of things that are values and ethics in life.
So what do you think, Rabbi? Going to you for a moment, asking you, what do you think is the greatest value that you and your wife have in your ethical wills for your children? What is really your
One of the main
overall
things
picture
is
and asking?
charity. And a person has to be charitable, not only giving money, which is important. We have a whole concept of tithing, giving a tenth, but also to give of yourself, to be a volunteer, to donate your time, your energy, your efforts. Americans in Israel, for example, are the most involved in the community, always doing things to help, to make a difference.
They
We
brought
make a difference.
volunteerism to Israel. The
Yeah, but I
Americans
just want to say
brought it.
before that much of our career was in America. We talked about Poland, then we got Israel, but in between there were decades where we spent in Israel and the Plains, for example, and the biggest part of our life was spent working in God's vineyard in the Plains and creating a community. We had over 500 families at one time, and we tried to make it an inspirational congregation where people still call about the Slichot service that we had. Simchas Torah, marching to the nursing home, all the things that we did, the awards we won, and the kinds of innovations that we created for the synagogue that people still talk about today. And that makes me feel good. There were 6 people, we spoke the other night, Ruby spoke the other night, and there was a half a dozen couples that I officiated at their weddings, one 45 years ago. And they told me some of the things I said under the chuppah that they still remember. And it makes you feel good when people don't forget you, but still remember. And that's a tremendous asset.
Can I think just two? First of all, it's not a dry book. There's a lot of humor in it. It's anecdote after anecdote. There's jokes and so on, things to make the point.
The stories.
But I also want to tell you, you talked about charity. The book is for charity. After the expenses are made, are done, all the money goes to charity. We have like 30 different ones in Israel. Most of them
needy
to
families.
feed needy, like Clara Hammer's Chicken Fund feeds 200 people every Sabbath for chicken and meat, and we have people like that. We have ORT, the training. We have schools. We have yeshiva. We have hospitals. But we have done this. I want you to know. When my husband wrote a book 12, 14 years ago, ever since then,
Which you can
all these
still
years-
see the show with him and me talking about that book
He's
on the internet
Off the wall.
at tvrabbi.com. If you look up the show,
But
Off
that's
the
very,
wall.
off the wall.
I mean, that's putting practice in use, and all the money has always gone to to charities, and this book also, money goes to
Very
charities.
nice. Very, very nice. Well, let me ask you a little bit about content in the book. What would you say is the greatest family historical connection that you found putting that together and going back?
Family historical connection. Well, there are. My maiden name is Ray. I'm an X-ray. My maiden name is Ray. I'm an X-ray. Okay. The family here in Chicago, mostly Chicago, it truly is a love letter to that family because I always have felt very special and very blessed to be part of it because they lived by these truths. They lived extremely charitable, extremely kind. They have always, all through the generations. There's a great story about my great-grandmother, the one that I was named after. You know, in Europe, the Sabbath, everybody ate a chont. It's like a casserole. And what you would do is you would bring this casserole with potatoes and meat and beans, inexpensive, sometimes with no meat because it was very, very, very poor, very poor. But what you would do, each housewife would go to the baker on Friday afternoon and bring her pot to sit on the top of the baker's oven to keep it warm and to cook until the Sabbath day. After the synagogue services, she would come and she would pick up her pot for her family, and that's what they would eat for the Sabbath. Traditional food. So you know what my grandmother did? She was the one who put everybody's pot in place, so everybody's chont, everybody's pot would be cooked, fully cooked and ready for them to take. Somebody had to organize that top of that
your
baker's.
bubby.
That was my bubby. That's what I'm named after. Isn't that a great story?
That's a great
It's a
story.
great story. It's true, you know. And I did all kinds of research, but I really there are people who helped you because you have to have oral histories. And I had aunts and uncles who, before they died, I would sit them down and I'd have a whole list of questions or a tape, and they would talk into it. So this is years in the making, even though it took me 2 years to put it together.
One of the persons that wrote the review of the book said one of the best parts that they enjoyed most was our trip to Russia. the Israeli government sent us to be, in a sense, spies in Russia. We smuggled in all kinds of religious materials and items, tefillin and talitot and mezuzot and Havdalah candles and all kinds of.
And was it while it was Soviet Russia or currently?
No, before. It was before
Glasnost.
Before, but we had to bring, what our job was, he would speak at a different house every night because the KGB was on to, and it was really very dangerous. It really was, but you know what, it worked. Anyway, he would speak, and then while he would speak, I would get names so that to bring back to Israel, so that the government could send them an invitation. They had to have an invitation, and then they could get out.
For a place to go, right?
And that's what happened. That's a great story. I mean,
Wow.
she's right. Weisman, Deborah Weisman, was an author herself, who reviewed it, and you'll see the review on the as part of this. But it's a great story. And I brought back jewelry, and I brought back all the people were sitting on their suitcases, apartments empty, and they didn't know how, they could only take out a little bit of money, almost nothing. And somebody had a wedding ring, somebody had a necklace, somebody had a bracelet. So you know what I did? And they didn't know how they couldn't get it out. I went ahead, came home from Russia wearing all that stuff. I must have had 10 necklaces and rings at every finger just so we can get it. And it went to the people when they finally made Aliyah. They got it back.
Wow.
It was a big
What a
mitzvah.
story.
That wasn't that great. But
What a
in the
story.
book,
A dangerous story.
yeah, in the book, though, there's a lot more detail. That it's really, you don't think of it. You live through something, and you don't think of it. And, we never even talked about it. But there's so many funny things. Like, we knew the KG was listening. So every night, we had to write notes and flush them down the toilet. I mean, it's a real spy story. And he would say, and we knew that they were listening, so he would say something like, okay, I think we'll go to bed now. And I expected somebody to hear somebody say, good night.
Not Lila Tov.
It was hysterical. I mean, and our kids were furious. What do you mean you're going to Russia? Anyway, I said, you never asked me where you're going, so why should I ask you where I'm going?
Now,
Anyway, it was
both your
wonderful.
children, Tammy and Uri, both living in Israel. Tammy's in the city of Efrat. Uri's in the city of Hebron right now. Both considered to be West Bank cities. Tell me what right now, while we're talking about your family and you being in Israel, what is going on right now in your opinion? I just came back from the APAC 14 conference and heard John Kerry profess his undying love for Israel and the Jewish people, and that though he's working on peace, that he would never, double cross us as a people or AIPAC in their policies, and how he said that behind the scenes that although President Obama sometimes sounds like he's saying things to make everybody happy, he really is on our side in that way. How do you feel the annexation eventually of the West Bank territories, which will never be returned, as they say, or given up is really how we should
Good
put
for
it.
you.
Is how we should put it.
Good for you.
How do you think that those things are going to end up if there is some kind of agreement, which it looks like there's a possibility, although it might not last, certainly.
How long is this television?
Yeah, you have another 6 months.
So what do you think is going on there as far as Israeli opinion?
I wish Obama and Kerry
Lots
were truly friends of Israel as they claim to be. I mean, we could argue the point whether they are or not. What they do and what they say and how they act and the pressure. It's interesting, they made us because we have to give concessions to the Arab. That word is very important. We let out murderers, terrorists,
From jail.
57.
and nobody thought anything of it. America's supposed to do that. I mean, Israel is supposed to do that. But Jonathan Pollard,
Sits in
for
jail.
30 years, is still in jail. He didn't kill anybody, and he's in jail. The president could pardon him, but he won't. He
That's
definitely
true.
could, but he won't. But it's all right for Israel to release terrorists, murderers, who we know are going to go back
Just
to
like,
their...
why do you think that Netanyahu, who spoke beautifully to us here
He
just
speaks
in
wonderfully.
Washington, why do you think that he didn't make that part of the deal?
Well,
Supposedly,
supposedly,
listen, every Knesset member sent a letter, not long ago, they sent a letter with everybody's signature, and Netanyahu and everything, and you know what? Obama just ignored it. He never even...
Doesn't even respond.
Doesn't even respond.
it's as if you
But
never got it.
Can I answer just one
Yes,
little
please.
thing too, to your original question? The thing is that, you know what, Douglas, you said, as long as it holds. Why should we have to live like that? You know what the truth is? The truth is, they want a part of it, and they've said in black and white, not one Jewish person, no, we're going to take that area, not one Jewish person will be allowed to live there. And I believe them. I believe them. And that's what and they can come and they live, they're more than welcome. They come and they live in our cities and they shop and they have the hospitals and everything. You know what, Douglas, they should just cool it. Because you know what, they really don't want, they don't want two states. They want one state, the Arab state. We can't do that. We just can't do that. And so you know what, they can carry, God bless him, runs back and forth. How many times has he been back in the past 3 4 months?
He said,
how many times?
you know, I want you to know, the Speaker of the House got up and spoke, and he said, it was Cantor. He got up and said, I've been to Israel for 12 times. So when Kerry got up after him, he said, I've been there more than that in the last 2 months.
That's exactly. I'm sure that's true. That's true. And you know what? He means well. He means well. There's no question about it. But you know what? You've got to have somebody to talk to. And that's the problem.
They really believe, I think that Obama and Kerry really naively believe that a two-state solution would solve all the problems of the Middle East. The Arabs don't want two states. They say
want
it, I mean,
one.
it sounds good to say. They want to destroy Israel. They want to eliminate Israel, and we know it, and we can't allow that.
You know,
Well, of
but
course,
let me
those
just tell you, in our
the
lifetime, I don't think anything's going to happen. In our children's lifetime, I don't think anything's going to happen. Maybe in our grandchildren, but you know what? They have to come to a realization that we are happy. We do everything, whatever we can do, we do everything that we can. But they don't want to, and you can't kill yourself. You can't put your head on somebody
Can't be
else's shoulders.
suicidal.
Right,
It's suicidal.
absolutely
Do it.
true.
So that's
I
it.
think that you know, one of the reasons that I don't think it's going to be so easy to do, you know, to make a actual agreement is because making an agreement when they're not willing to recognize the Jewish state as the
Exactly.
Jewish state,
That's number
one.
Of course,
And
that's
Obama and Kerry both say that also. And so, you know, Obama didn't speak this year at APAC, so I can't tell you how I believe him or not believe him. But Kerry's, he made it very clear that before any agreement has ever come to, they've got to be able to accept the fact that if we're going to agree for them to have a Palestinian
100%,
state,
that's right.
they have to accept that there is a Jewish state in advance.
100%.
And of course, everybody stood up and cheered and clapped during that. But he seemed very sincere, and those who lobbied with him as a senator said he is being very sincere about that.
I believe it.
So,
I believe
so
it.
obviously, it's going to be a tough thing.
But you know what? That is, it's just, it's a basis. It's not going to be. It's just not going to be. They're not ready for it.
They
Yeah.
can't change
So
the
that's
Arabs' point of view.
Not
Right.
now.
They don't.
Right, you can't
they
change
don't
people.
wanna do
It's going to, like you said, possibly there might be a change of attitude in a couple of generations.
Exactly.
Of the young
But
people.
you know what? Don't hold your breath.
Right.
And
right.
meanwhile, just try and be the best that we can possibly be. That's all.
So the
That's
book,
the
but
best
getting
we
back
can
to the
do.
book,
Yeah.
the whole purpose of our visit here, we've gone to several states, 5 states in the last month to promote the book. And the idea is really, the money, as we said, is going for charity. That's not to us personally. But the whole idea is to try to let people think what a meaningful life, how to make a difference. That with the years that God gives us, we can make a difference. We can add love and kindness and goodness, and we can add love and charity and the chesed, a Hebrew word which is loving kindness. We can make a contribution to make the world a better place. And that's the purpose of this book. She decided it's time to write it. And it's a summary of all the things we've been living and doing and preaching and teaching and for a half century plus.
So of course our half hour is almost up together on the show, but let me ask you just briefly, how long did it take you to write the book, first of all?
A little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years. What made you think that putting your personal thoughts that you share with your children and family into a book was something that would be good?
Never thought of it. The honest truth is I never thought. I really sat down for the kids, honestly, to give. First I started with an ethical will. As I said, that was what we wanted to leave them. Then I figured not interesting enough, well, put against the family. Then I realized that it was everybody's story, and that's the approach, everybody's story. But then, when the book was finished, I started, really didn't tell anybody about it. Nobody knew about it, all our friends, nobody did. When I finished, I said, you know, I said, I think I may publish this book. And somebody said, oh, what's it about? You got to do it, so on and so forth. It morphed into a book. It was not started that way.
Wow.
It morphed into it.
Wow.
About 1 month, we've sold over 500 copies, which doesn't sound
Well,
like
you know
a lot,
what?
but
You two are very popular and so well known. And coming to the States, it's very easy to understand that the book would be popular because people don't get to talk to you and see you every week anymore. They don't hear you speak. They don't socialize with your wife on a regular basis. This is a way, by picking up the book, to say, I can connect to Rabbi and Mrs. Karzen by reading this book and sharing their stories and the things that they shared with me in the past and things from the future that I wasn't able to share with them. And it's the same thing reading your book off the wall. When you read off the wall, you're telling stories of your experiences over the years as a rabbi and things that people wouldn't hear because you're not telling them in sermon. So
But I want to say, it's also, people have said, Ruby, if the book reads just like you speak, and that's exactly the truth. Exactly when the publisher said, "Are you sure you want to put this in?" I says, "Absolutely, that's the way I would say it."
So if you want more information about the book, Cherry on the Top by Ruby Ray Karzen, you can email us at info@tvrabbi.com. I will forward your email to the Rebbitzen and the Rabbi, and they will get back to you with any more info. And if you want to see some former shows with them on my show, you can see that at tvrabbi.com. And just go through the list, and they're all next to each other on the list of the former shows with Rabbi Jay Karzen, Rebbitzen Ruby Ray Karzen. I want to thank you both so much for being on the show. I wish you much success with Cherry on the Top, and and I hope that your speaking tours just spread the word to so many who are so interested. I know tomorrow you're speaking to the Skokie Yeshiva women, and that's a very nice thing, and I know so many people
And
are going to
also
come
doing-
of your old friends for that.
And I'm also doing a book
signing this week, right? So
Book
it's
signing,
a
yeah.
great thing. It's a great thing. So we hope to see you next time, right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug. Rabbi and Rebbitzen, I can't thank you enough because every time you're on the show, not only do I get the most emails, but people want to know what's going on in your lives who haven't heard from you in a long time, and it's sort of like an update, sort of like coming to a speech without having to come to the speech. But if you want more information, again, send us an email, info@tvrabbi.com, and I'll get back to you about any time that they are going to be in town
we're
speaking.
also proud of your successes too.
Thank you so much. My Rebbe, Rabbi Jay Karzen, my Rebbitzen, Ruby Ray Karzen. Hope to see you next time right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. Well, he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need. You're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.